What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Zamboni. I am an herbalist and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sending me a tip via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button in the save button in the corner there, in the right hand corner. Thank you so much for telling your friends about all of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So, this week, it is a mess. Look, it just is. I've been thinking for a little while about how I'm going to talk about this one. It's some, so all of that Mercury retrograde, Mars, and Sun in Libra stuff, that's coming to a head this week. So on October 9th, we are going to get all three of those conjunct at 16 degrees of Libra. A little bit before that, on the 6th, we're going to get the new moon in Libra at 13 degrees of Libra, and Mars will be at 13 and a half. So we're really it's all about this Libra, Mars, Sun, Mercury moment. So there's plenty of confusion to be had here. There's plenty of frustration, annoyance. All this kind of stuff is going to be showing up here. The Mercury retrograde, I expect to be really loud at this point. Like all the Mercury retrograde things, I expect to show up. The standard Mercury retrograde things, miscommunications, misunderstandings, delays, frustration, all that sort of stuff. All that is going to be sort of heightened by the frustrations that Mars can feel. This is Mars in a position where this is Mars not knowing how to do Mars stuff. You know what I mean? This is Mars in the China shop, with the delicate, pretty things all around. And Mars tends to prefer combat boots and stuff like that, right? So Mars doesn't really know how to engage in this environment. The Sun as well is known for expression, for sort of being strong as a self, whereas Libra really likes to approach the other or be in balance with the other in some kind of way or something like this. And so these kinds of things are sort of, they're already awkward. They're already in a weird position. And then we add Mercury retrograde as well in this Cazimi. So Mercury Cazimi, this is halfway through the retrograde cycle, right? So there's, so this is, Mercury is going to go backwards for a little while, conjoin the Sun, go backwards for a little further, and then turn around and then start to come back. We're in this moment here right in the middle, and Mars is there as well. So usually the way that I talk about this is sort of like a special message that gets to come through. Usually this feels like some kind of turning point or some kind of aha moment. There can be the sort of light bulb, like, oh, this really makes sense. Because there's Mars here at the same time, all of the Mercury retrograde stuff that we've been working with, we've been engaging all this stuff, all of the confusion or the projects that need to be done another time or this kind of situation, all that stuff looks like it wants to be like there's something that wants to rupture, or there's some kind of break or excessive pushing or some kind of something that wants to happen here. That's the kind of thing that Mars likes to do, right? And Mars is right here in that moment. Because it's in Libra, we can think about relationships. We can think about working with the other in some kind of way. Libra is also an air sign, and so we can think about things like communications or information or something like this. And one of the ways that I've been talking about Mercury retrograde, this goes back to February when we were looking at Mercury retrograde in Aquarius at that time, and Mercury's been retrograde in each of the air signs. I did a little talk on that. That is linked. Is it linked in my bio? Probably, but it's definitely linked in the monthly forecast, which is linked in my bio. So you can check that out. That's another talk that I gave earlier in the year about Mercury retrograde in the air signs and how Mercury retrograde in an air sign gives us good information. I'm taking a course with Biokomalafe right now, and in this course there are these sort of exciting groups where people can, there are these experiments where people can sort of engage new ideas or different ways of being or whatever, right? And so but it's very experimental, and the course that I'm in has grown exponentially since when it started. And so it's very, very big. And so stuff is not working properly. So they're trying to get people into groups, and there's all this confusion. And is your username on Zoom the same as your username? And there's like all of this kind of stuff. And so as I was in this course the last time we met, then there was all of this sort of like mess around it. There was all this difficulty. There was all this like tech stuff. But the sort of organizer of the group dynamic, the organizer of the event had said, well, look, this is by nature an experiment. And so even when things are not working the way that we planned them, even when things are not going smoothly, this is information. We are learning things from this. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can really think with during this Mercury retrograde, and all of these Mercury retrogrades, especially in the air signs, but probably Mercury retrogrades in general, is this sense of, if things are not going as planned, then what can we learn from this, right? If we treat this whole moment, this whole historical moment as an experiment, right? From the gubernatorial level down to your own personal life. We're in a moment where we're trying to wayfind the future, right? We're trying to figure out how to generate a world that we want to live in, right? And we've been living in a kind of world for a long time, and now things are broken open, and so we need to work toward living in a world that we want to create, right? But we haven't actually lived in that world yet, and so the only way to do that is by experimenting, by trying stuff out. So Mercury retrograde really gives us a great opportunity to get some feedback on how stuff is working. Not only does it give us feedback on where our mistakes or our errors are, but it gives us some good ideas about how to make a better version. If we're working on the prototypical concept car right now, then how can we do this better so that the thing moves faster or handles better or whatever it is, right? How can we get what kind of information can we glean from we could say undesirable outcomes. When undesirable outcomes are showing up and it's making us frustrated and it's making us angry and this kind of thing, then how can we learn from this, and what can this teach us about our longer term? One thing that I think is really helpful to remember during Mercury retrograde is stuff goes slow. It just does. It just goes slower, or you might have to do it a second time. Recently, so this Mercury retrograde is in my 4th house of home, family, foundations, housing, this kind of thing. Under the Mercury retrograde station, I had somebody come in and install a water filter. And so it was system wide. So it's, we've got like softened water in the toilet now and this sort of stuff, right? So I knew that the water in this area is toxic, and so I knew that I had to get some kind of water solution. And I called them, and this was the day that they could come. And it was like, okay, cool. So I guess we're going to do it under the Mercury station, right? And then when the Mercury station happened, then old boy came in the door, and he was talking about he's not a plumber, and like he's confused his first day. He doesn't know how to do any of this stuff, right? So he came in, and I knew it was going to be a mess from the jump. So then when 2 days later, I came back and I had puddles in the floor, I was unsurprised. You know what I mean? And that measure of, I just knew that there was no way that we were not going to do this a second time. Because I knew that, then it was so much easier for me to get on the ground with those towels. You know what I mean? I'm like mopping the whole thing up, being like, this is on time, right? And I think that can be really important. Also, when I called the repairman came and was like, oh yeah, this was obviously done poorly. I've got everything better now, so you should be good to go. However, there's this other problem, which is not our responsibility, which you might need to pay attention to, right? And so we got extra information about the infrastructure for the project, the longer term infrastructure. Let's not forget that Saturn and Jupiter are making a trine aspect to this Mercury, right? So we've got, especially that Jupiter wants to improve things or heal things or better things, right? And so what we did here is we had to go through it another time. And I knew that we were going to have to go through it another time. Even from the beginning of the first time, I was like, there's no way that we're not going to do this a second time. We did it the second time. It's much better now. And we have some more information about the long term, what is going to matter. I think this is a really nice illustration of how a Mercury retrograde can go well. You know what I mean? With the idea that we're gonna have to do this another time. So if something happens and we have to do it another time, then we're on time, we are on schedule. If we can keep that as on schedule and not behind schedule, then that can help all the frustration. That can help all of the like, oh no, I'm so scared kind of things. That can help all of that out. So be ready to go slow. Be ready to get your journal out and take some notes. Figure out what is going on. Where did things go wrong? It's okay if you're fallible in some kind of way. And that's what I wrote about in the monthly the whole time. Is like, you are unlikely to be able to do this by yourself. I know that maybe that's just me. Maybe I am unlikely to be able to do this by myself, right? But this is like Sun in Libra, Mars in Libra. Ineffective, personally ineffective. And so, but making a trine aspect to Saturn and Jupiter, this is very much working together, right? And so throughout Mercury retrograde, we have an opportunity to really get some good information. And as Mercury goes Cazimi this week, that's a really good time to, there's a loud message here to be had. And so listen for it, listen for that. And we're going to turn a corner, you know what I mean? So Mercury is going to hit that Cazimi, and then it's going to go back. It's going to be behind the sun. And so we're going to sort of like turn around on that. We still have more Mercury Mars that we got to do here in Libra. And so it's not done yet, but we're going to turn a corner. The other reason we're going to turn a corner, I'm running out of time here, but the other reason we're going to turn a corner is because Venus is going to move into Sagittarius. Venus has been in Scorpio for the last few weeks. Venus, which rules Libra. So everything that we've been talking about up to this point is going to have a sort of tone change as well, or color change as well, as Venus moves from Scorpio into Sagittarius. So Scorpio was opposite to Uranus. It was square to Saturn and Jupiter. Now Sagittarius moving into Sagittarius. First, this is a more comfortable position for Venus in general, because Venus is not in exile or detriment in this position. This is to say that Venus is not in a Mars sign and is therefore more comfortable as a result. So the Venus stuff gets a little better, right? But immediately, the first thing Venus has to do is conjoin the South Node. This is one of the more uncomfortable positions for Venus. Venus is not like the South Node. The South Node likes to purge. The South Node likes to get rid of stuff, do less. Venus, being attractive and beautiful and harmonious, tends to prefer to do more of the thing. Venus can sort of tend toward gluttony. If you let her. So this is so the Venus moving into Sagittarius in general is it's a better, sort of more comfortable position for Venus. But in the first few days, and in that first few days, that's when we've got the ninth. That's when we've got everybody conjoined in Libra, and so we've got some frustration, we've got some difficulty, we've got some kind of being accountable for the mistakes or something like that, or having to hold someone else accountable for mistakes, right? Mars, Mercury, angry words, having to take someone to task in some kind of way might show up during this time. And so then as Venus moves into Sagittarius and hits that South Node, this is more purgative. This is more like flush the thing out, and so it definitely looks a little bit uncomfortable or difficult this week, but we can learn so much, and I really think that this Mercury retrograde situation all year, this Mercury retrograde stuff really gives us a great opportunity to make to feel into the world that we're trying to create. So let's do it. Let's do it. Stay with the trouble and let's do the damn thing, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. I am out of time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sending me a tip. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for being a part of this community, leaving a comment. Thank you for showing up on Patreon. I know I haven't been real good with the dailies recently. That's because I'm really doing the dailies as the electional report in Patreon. I'll talk about that a little bit later when I got more time. Thank you so much for being here. I'll check y'all next time. Bye.